you very much, Philip. I was not aware that's in English, but I will try. So I was asked by Tobias to describe a bit my experiences with oral exams, and I want to describe a bit two settings. And the first setting is, the two settings are rather different. The first setting is an elective course in the physics curriculum. It's a master's course, and it's an oral session exam. It's about 20 minutes, and the course is ultra-fast processes in solids. So we have the following program for the oral exam. We tell the students to prepare a 10-minute presentation of a topic they like. They can choose out of a list of topics. In this, we focus on the understanding and not of the details of the prefactors, of the mathematical description of an effect. So we ask them to explain a topic out of that course. Often this is done with a sketch, with an XY plot, or a sketch of an experimental setting, or the schematic of an experiment. We ask them if something is not clear to us, just to make it more precise or to elaborate more on a certain point. When this part is finished, we continue with additional questions. So these might be very close to the topic which was presented. It could be that when the presentation was very technical to a topic of the course, we would ask more about a physical question, a research question, which could be dealt with that technique. And if it's more a physical effect which is described, then we would ask, how can you measure it? What would be different options to measure it? So we normally go in these questions from the more general to the detail. So it's like a dialogue which evolves. If a candidate cannot answer a question, we try to quickly understand if it's because of the formulation or because the candidate has not focused on that topic. And then we switch to another topic. We don't drill on that topic. Then about giving the grade at the end, we both set a grade. We write it on paper, and then we compare it and discuss it. Since it's a session exam, we give a feedback on demand, so on request, because the grade first has to go through the processes of the session exam. That's the first setting in that elective course. The second setting is a mandatory course in the teaching diploma in physics, so the teacher education program. It's the Fachdidaktik 2 course. There we have a Semesterleistung, and in former times it was an end of semester exam. We changed it because we wanted to grade more a portfolio which is developed during the course. So during the course, every student writes his own portfolio about the topic of Grundlagenfach Physik at the Gymnasium. At the end, all students see all portfolios of all the students. The idea is that at the end of the course, they have a basic set of lessons or basic set of material they could look at when they start teaching at the Gymnasium. There are different elements of the portfolio, and they are worked on in Übungsaufträgen, in exercise tasks they become during the semester. And for each such element, they are given feedback during the course, or they can ask for feedback. Perhaps not everyone gets automatically one. So every week they can choose to present what they worked on, and then they are given feedback, or they can send the material, and then they are given individual feedback. Then there is a peer feedback round regarding a first version of the portfolio. So each student is assigned the portfolio of another student and writes a written report with rubrics on that portfolio. At the end, we give a grade to the portfolio that counts 75% and a grade to the end of semester exam, which is 25%. There is a rubric, a detailed rubric for the portfolio and for the oral exam. For the oral exam, which is more like a dialogue, we plan for 40 minutes. 20 minutes, that's the discussion, the exam in principle. 10 minutes, the two of us, the two teachers, we discuss what we saw in the oral exam. And then the last 10 minutes, we get the candidate back in and give directly feedback, and we give directly the grade and explain how the grade was obtained. Then perhaps some details to the oral part with the candidate. So we normally have a first question, which could be, which lesson did you are you proud of? Which lesson did you like most? Or what's typical or in your portfolio, in your lessons? Then more detailed question could be, which learning difficulties or which misconceptions do you relate to a certain task you give? Or which learning objective did belong to an activity you planned here in that lesson? Or why did you choose a certain way of teaching? So perhaps some remarks. Then my colleague is the direct responsible person or teacher for that course. I was that in former time when I was closer to the teaching at the gymnasium level schools. Now my colleague derives his grade of the portfolio very close to the rubric. So he uses a very detailed rubric with detailed weight distributions. And this rubric is known to the students. So I'm the second, he's the first person in the exam. I'm kind of the note taker and second person, but I read all the portfolios and I also set the grade, but I don't use the rubric. I set the grade out of experience with former portfolios and about what my feeling is, how it works in the classroom. Now, these two grades we have before the oral exam, and then the oral exam that kind of gives the end note. Interestingly, now my colleagues' grade and my grade, they are usually the same, or they differ by half a grade, by a quarter of a grade. In rare cases, it's half a grade or more. So we are usually very close. Normally then, we argue, the two of us, why we gave that grade. And normally, like my colleague's grade has a higher weight than mine. But I do normally not know the candidates. And my colleague worked together with the candidates during the semester. So mine is a bit more independent from the person, a bit more global. So that's kind of the two ways I know oral exams.